Okay, let's return now to our panel. Daniela Rotorto.
Mr Rann, my next question to you, I want to pick up on what Ms Redmond said. You have been Premier for 8 years and Labor leader for 8 years before that. Nothing lasts forever, so who's your successor?
Well, I think that's for the people of this state and my party to determine. But I'm about not only am I born in the same year as the Leader of the Opposition, but I'm about the same age as John Howard was when he was first elected. So I am tireless I hope people recognise that, in trying to get the best projects going, secure the best contracts for our state. So I'm concentrating on keeping that going rather than risking it with people from the other side of politics who are simply not ready. And I guess the key point about that is that if you look at what people really want, at this time in our history where we've seen new confidence in our state, the lowest unemployment ever in South Australia's history, the highest number of people in work in our history, the greatest investment in health and education in our history, I think it's not a time to risk it by changing directions to people who are not ready.
Ms Redmond.
Well, as I already said, if we kept up with our share of the national economic pie, we would have currently 19,000 more people employed in this state than we do have. The fact is that there has been a neglect by this government of the issues that are really important to South Australians, most importantly water security, but also the issues like putting health out into the regions. This government has been Adelaide focused, and to the extent that people in the regions constantly feel and constantly report to me that they feel as though they're not even part of South Australia's government.
Okay, Greg Kelton.
Mr Rann, plenty of commentators, and I'll include myself in this, have suggested that you look tired and flat in this campaign and you're not campaigning at your best. Why do you think people believe you're running out of steam?
Well, I don't feel tired at all. I mean, I've just been on the phone this morning and I'm very pleased that the Prime Minister is announcing today that the federal government will put in 60% of the funding for our hospitals. Currently it's about 35%. I guess I'm tireless, whether it's about winning defence contracts, whether it's about getting mining going, and that's what we've been doing for the regions, including, by the way, renewable energy, billions of dollars in renewable energy investment, which has massively benefit our regions. We now have more wind power than all of the other states put together. We lead in solar, we lead in geothermal. So I'm concentrating on the job of doing the job, and that means working just massive hours of the day. So I'm going to continue to work hard for our state because that's what people pay me to do.
Ms Redmond.
Can I go straight away to that comment by Mike Rann that we have more wind power than the other states put together? I have in front of me a document from the Clean Energy Council which quite clearly makes it obvious that we have maybe more wind power than every other state, but not than the other states put together. When you add up the amount of wind power in the other states, we actually have less than all of them combined. And furthermore, the renewable energy in this state sits us at the 5th state compared to the other states. The fact is that this government tries to say that it does a lot more than what it actually does. It's spin without substance.
Okay, Matt Abraham, a question for Ms Redmond.
Ms Redmond, what did you mean when you said in 2006 that ecstasy is no big risk? It does create the impression that you're sort of a bit of an Adelaide Hills hippie who's chilling out and asking people to chill out. And ecstasy, I think you'll agree, is a very dangerous drug.
Absolutely.
What wouldn't be? What other drugs aren't?
No, what I said wasn't that it was no big risk, and it was a comment taken out of context. I'd actually attended a rave party at the invitation of Dr David Caldecott, who then headed the alcohol and drug section of the Royal Adelaide Hospital, and I was interviewed, and that context needs to be in place. I was interviewed when I came out of that, and the comment was that ecstasy didn't appear to be as dangerous as some other drugs, like the other drugs I've been talking to Dr David Caldecott about, cocaine, crack, ice and the like. That said, in context, I actually think ecstasy is an extremely dangerous drug and one that anyone would be a fool to try because it is so dangerous, potentially fatal, and any drug that's illicit should not be countenanced.
Mr Rann.
I just think that it's incredibly irresponsible for any political leader to attend a rave party. And it comes down to values. It comes down to where we stand on law and order. I mean, we've toughened up more than 100 criminal laws in our state, and have often been opposed by the Liberals on that, including being opposed for DNA testing Bevan Spencer von Einem. And so whether it's been about toughening up the law, and we saw police cuts under the previous Liberal government, we've actually recruited record numbers of police. In fact, by the end of our next term, 1,000 more police will be on the beat than there were under the previous government. But, you know, even with things like the release of murderers recommended for parole, I've said no to the parole board because that's what I'm elected to do, but the Leader of the Opposition says she won't interfere in parole board decisions. That means people like Stephen McBride and other murderers would be out loose again, and no one wants that.
Okay, we are nearly running out of time for questions. There's time for one more question, and we'll give you each 60 seconds to reply to it. Daniela.
Well, my next question is to both of you equally, and it's a pretty simple one. Is there anything you like about each other? Mr Rann, you first.
I really respect the Leader of the Opposition. I've heard that she's a great mum, and I know she works hard. I know she was a lawyer before, so I respect her profession. And I think it's great that we can be courteous to each other, and that's been my relationship with people like Dean Brown and Rob Kerrin and others over the years, because we don't live in some war-torn country. I hope we're all patriots at heart, and we're all doing our best for our state. And so I think that there should be a measure of courtesy and friendship that extends outside of Parliament. I often see Ms Redmond at arts events as well, and I appreciate her, as Minister for the Arts, strong support in the arts area.
Ms Redmond.
Well, it must be obvious to people that Mike Rann and I are very different personalities, and I'm pleased to say we have always maintained a very cordial relationship, and I value that with all my parliamentary colleagues, both on my own side and across the chamber. I think that the chamber hopefully should be a forum for the great debates rather than a place for people becoming testy with each other. We should be able to maintain a decorum, and I thank the Premier for his ability to do that.
We're now into the final summary stage. Each of you has 1 minute, and under the rules, Ms Redmond, you begin.
Thank you. Well, can I say again, I'm focused on the future of this state. I believe that there are very significant issues that we need to deal with. We haven't had a chance to deal with them under the current government. Water security has to be our #1 issue, and then making sure that we have the appropriate things in place. Our Royal Adelaide Hospital rebuild will allow us to save $1 billion that we can put into other health services around the state, keeping Glenside, keeping our community schools, establishing an independent commission against corruption, having fundamental tax reform for this state. All of those and others are important issues. We have a vision for how we want this state to be. We don't want our young people leaving this state thinking that they can only find a future somewhere else. We want them to see this as the place to be, and under our vision, we've got plans to get there. We hope that on the 20th of March, you'll give us a chance to do that.
Mr Rann.
On March the 20th, I hope that when people go into the polling booth, they'll ask themselves, is our state better off than it was when we were first elected? Are we more confident? Is our economy stronger? Is our health system better? Are we more vibrant, more confident place that's got pride and purpose back, a state that leads rather than follows? And I hope that on the issue of leadership, people will say, who is best able to keep the jobs growth going? I mean, 10 times the 4 times jobs growth that occurred under the previous Liberal government. Who is best equipped to keep winning the defence contracts, to keep securing the projects for the future? Who is best equipped to negotiate the best possible deal for South Australia from Commonwealth Government, from Kevin Rudd and his team? So I hope that on March the 20th, people won't just look at our record, but will look at a government that is keeping the momentum going, because we cannot risk it. We cannot allow all that's been achieved by everyone in South Australia to be left to people who are not ready for government.
Mr Rann, Ms Redmond, thank you very much. We are now out of time. Thank you to our panel, and thank you for watching. The election is on March the 20th. It is now over to you. Good night and good luck.